mentioned. Coach, maybe just opening question will just be, your thoughts, and, just heading to that match. Like I said, it's the first competitive match of the season, and, it's a quarterfinal of a cup competition. I think it's a bit of a deja vu for you, if I'm not mistaken. It was also your first match when your first stint with KaizerChiefs. But just your thoughts heading into that match and about the opposition as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, it is a little bit deja vu. I suppose I've got my excuses already in case we lose, because I can then say we went on to win the league. But obviously we don't want to lose. It's a big game, isn't it? It's a big game. Chiefs Sundowns is always a big game. Sundowns are the team that has really set the benchmark over the last few seasons, and I think it's up to everybody else in what you could call the chasing pack to try to, in the words of Sir Alex Ferguson, knock them off their perch. I would like to think that we're going to be in the chasing pack, and I'd like to think that we can have a little bit of a say in where the trophy goes at the end of the season. It is early days for us. It is early days in terms of the development of the squad, getting players in, getting players back from injury, integrating in new players. It is early days, but I'm quite optimistic, because I think the players have done an unbelievable job of taking on board some of the stuff that we've worked on, and they've already found a bit of a balance that makes us quite difficult to play against. So if we can over the next few weeks upgrade that, then I think we could be quite an unpleasant opponent.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Let me take questions from the floor. I'll start with Mr. Walter Mabeba. Okay, seems like he's not there. John T. Mark.
Hi, Coach.
Hi, Johnson. How are you doing?
Good, and you?
Good, thank you.
I want to ask about some of the new signings. I mean, how likely are we to see a much changed Chiefs team? I mean, it'll obviously be different from the Carling Black Label Cup because you didn't pick the team, but how likely are we to see, like, how many of the new signings would you say are likely to start on Sunday, against Sunday?
It's difficult to say. I'm sure that you'll see some of them. Everybody sort of has a different starting point, don't they? In terms of when did they come in, how much have they had experience of that before? So, like, Cole Alexander's a new player, but he's had me as a coach before, and some of the lads have had me in the national team, and some of the lads were here in my first stint. So everybody's got a little bit of a different starting point. So training will tell us in our preparations who's putting their hands up and who maybe needs a little bit more time, and maybe due to maybe fitness or otherwise, that maybe you'll start on the bench. So I think there will be some changes, and but I don't think it won't be wholesale changes, given that we have signed a few players.
Move on to Vuyo.
Thanks, Fatu. Good day to you, Coach, and the colleagues. Coach, I just want to pick your brain on something. Over the past few months, we've seen across the world athletes and making headlines and speaking about things related to their mental health and stuff. There was a period as well when Christian Eriksen went through his ordeal. I just wanted to get from you, Coach, since that time of Christian Eriksen, and of course with the headlines related to mental health, how has preparation changed in the team, especially in relation to how you examine the players now in this time of COVID-19. Has anything changed at all? Is there new focus on other things that you might have not looked at whenever you're preparing for a team to start a season?
No, I think it's a good question. You know, you're right. We have had, and I was speaking, strangely, I was speaking with a colleague in Europe about this and only yesterday. And we were saying that those mental health issues have been there all the time. People have not been coming out. They've thought that that's a sign of weakness. They think that it's going to jeopardize their position, and for different reasons, it's never come to the surface. And I think more and more people are standing up and being brave enough to say, listen, I'm struggling. Now, what we can do as a club is exactly what you say. We can try to monitor, but we can certainly have strategies in place in the event of, so you can monitor, but where does monitoring become obtrusive, and where does not monitoring become lackadaisical? So I think we have to find a balance there. The players should feel that they can at any time confide in us. They can confide in the doc. They can confide in one of the coaching staff, the captain. And if we do get an indication that someone is struggling with mental health, then we do have strategies in place now. We do have a sort of a pyramid of things. Someone who is showing great anxiety, feeling the pressure, who's maybe had a few too many drinks after a game because he feels he's got to come down and calm down. Maybe that's not the sort of, whether you're going with all guns blazing and you whip him away to the sports psych and the doctors now, but you still need to be discussing, is that the correct thing to do to manage your level of let's say unhappiness. Now, if it's clinical depression, then that's a different thing, and then you've got to get them in there. But I think the main thing is that we talk about it now. We're talking about it, and the players are brave enough to talk about it. It isn't a sign of weakness. This we've understood from the strong people that have come forward and said, no, actually, I was struggling as well. And I think it's a great question. It's very relevant, and I think we do have to make sure that we've got strategies in place in the event of it being needed.
Mark Gleason.
Good afternoon. Can I ask about your process through from the final on the 17th? Did you give the guys a week off? Did you restart? And how is this short preseason going to impact, you think, on your prospects for the campaign, especially long term? Secondly, may I just ask you for an injury update ahead of the game?
Well, after the final, when I came in, we'd got a couple of league games. We got a couple of league games that I was taking part in with the coaching staff to try and get through, and that was a bit of a one-off. And then we had the two semi-finals against Wydad, and that was certainly a game strategy for those to tactically get through into the final. And then the final becomes exactly the same. It's a one-off. So the long-term work didn't really start until after the final. And then the players have been playing for so long, you've got to give them day. I think we gave them 4 or 5 days off. And that was probably not enough physically. But everybody was chomping at the bit a little bit, and they wanted to get in, and we gave them the 5 days off. The Olympic lads obviously went to the Olympics, and they got their 5 days when they came back from the Olympics. So how will that impact on the season moving forward? Well, it just means that we haven't maybe done the work that we wanted to get done at this point in time. It's going to be a little bit more of a work in progress, and what you know then is that you want a few decent results in the beginning to keep yourselves there and thereabouts, so that when you feel that things are sitting more tightly and people are playing with more freedom, then at that point we want to be within striking distance. We don't want to get cut away, and that brings its own form of pressure. So I think that's the only way that we can that I think it could impact us, Mark. In terms of the injuries, well, we've got a couple of them that are getting back. Lebo Manyama did his first training with the team the other day, so I'm going to wait in about another 5 minutes. I'll get
Fatu, your mic is on.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. Coach, were you done with your answer?
No, I was going to say, Mark asked about the injuries, and we've got the ones that have been injured long term. Leo Castro, Zuma, and the ones like that have been long term injuries. Lebo Manyama was one of them who did his first training with the team, a proper football training. Now that doesn't mean he's fit, but it means he's fit to take part in training and get himself match fit now. We've got a couple of the other ones that have come back, not injured, but they've been at the Olympics. They've got to slowly get back into things, etc., etc. So we do have our injuries, and we do, but at the same time, Mark, we've got the players that have been taking part in training, those who are probably going to be the ones that we select the squad, we select the team from, because we know that they've got enough training in their legs, we know that they've had enough rest, we know that they've done enough structural training with us, and that from them we will take. I can't see any huge surprises now, and suddenly we've got somebody playing that's you've not seen for about 3 or 4 months. So
thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Mr. Mabiba, Rawalta, are you still there? You still have a question, or should I carry on? Maybe you just muted. All right, I'll move on to Karabo.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fatu. Good afternoon, Coach Stuart. Welcome back once again. Coach, I just wanted to find out, I think my question is more or less similar to my colleague who asked Vuyo, but just zooming into a specific player, Kgaugelo Sekgotha. Well, a lot has been said about him on social media, and quite rightly so, because of the performance that he put in his first game for Chiefs. Have you also been having a bit of time with him away from the rest of the squad, trying to not to put too much pressure on him, but also encouraging him, and also to tell him to keep himself, grounded, because obviously, a lot has been said about him on social media that can also get to a player, to be quite honest, in modern day football. And secondly, Coach, honestly speaking, from your point of view, Khatebe as well is also excited a lot of KaizerChiefs supporters. How likely is he going to play, maybe on Sunday as well as for the rest of the season? Are we likely to see him play a lot of minutes for the club? Thank you.
If I take those in the right order, I think KG is a player that's an exciting player. He's an exciting player, and he played his first game for us, and he gave an exciting performance, which in its turn will excite the supporters. So that word exciting there, we like that in football, don't we? We like to have exciting games, exciting performances, and exciting players. So KG is one of those players that can excite the crowd. So the challenge that he has is to, as you say, be focused so that you can do what you can do and do it within a structure of the team, so we can also maximize that by getting the ball to you when you should get it, and you taking positions that we need you to take, and so that balance there is what I think is keeping him grounded at the moment. So we don't encourage our players to become validation junkies on social media. I think the players, they should have a lot of confidence and dare to express themselves, even when social media is not maybe making them the flavour of the month. And I don't in the same turn, I don't want them to be, just because social media is making them flavour of the month, not be grounded and go floating away with the fairies. So I've had a conversation with KG, and I think we know what we want from each other, and I'll be there helping him to try to stay grounded and at the same time make sure that he gives what he can give, because that's exciting. I mean, you've got the beautiful game up there, and that's one of the reasons it's beautiful, because it excites us. In terms of Bebo, look, when I first came, the very first day, his training was wretched. He was all over the place. He was running around like a headless chicken. That I guess, when I took him and spoke to him, was because he wanted to impress the new coach as much as he could. And he is a gifted player. He does have a lot of talent. We've all seen lots of talented players in the past that don't make it for various reasons. But Bebo, I have to say, between that day and now, let's call it that day in the Pirates game, I think he got down to some work. He wanted to play within the structure of the team. He wanted to play with other players and not only be an individualist. And I think his progress has been excellent. So I don't like sitting here and saying people are going to play 20, 30 games, because lots of things can affect that. Lack of form, injuries, whatever. But Bebo has certainly surprised me with his progress. And I hope he continues that progress, because if he does, then he'll be a strong candidate.
Tsepang?
Hi, Coach. Tsapang from Sokala Duma. Just wanted to check how Karma is doing ahead of this game. How far is he in terms of maybe possibly starting? And also, will you have any more players leaving Chiefs before the end of the month? I think some have been linked with an exit. So I just wanted to check if you will be having any players leaving before the window closes.
Okay, let me take that one first, because I think when you sit like this talking, doing a Zoom interview, it's not really good to throw out a lot of speculation, because Lionel Messi suddenly signs for Paris Saint-Germain, and the day before, no one would have thought it. And that's a little bit like that. I can say what may happen, and then it doesn't happen, and I look stupid. So I would say that there are people that are interested in a few of our players, but whether that will happen or not, I've got no real idea. So I'll have to make that my answer for the second part. The first part, Karma is doing excellently in training. He's looking sharp. He's looking enthusiastic. He's probably a better all-round player than I thought he would be. But that's what happens when you work with players; you get to know them better. Whether that means he will start, or that means he's a very interesting guy from the bench, the next couple of days will tell me. And that, all going through all the stats with the sports scientists about how his endurance is getting better and his strength, his relative strength is getting better, then we'll make a proper call on that. But certainly Karma is looking like he's, one, enjoying the work that we're doing, but two, he's showing his quality.
Mazola?
Hi, Coach Mazola here.
Hi, Mazola. Hi.
Just a two-part question. Just maybe the first one, just on the players that are transfer listed, the ones that haven't left yet, are they training with the first team? The second question is just around Sundowns. Just your thoughts around Sundowns. I mean, you had been away from Chiefs for 6 years, and in that 6 years they won the title 4 times in a row. And if they've not stopped, sort of bringing in new players and sort of altering their playing personnel here and there,
I mean, does that make them, do they give you sleepless nights in the sense that they've been so dominant over the years? And I think maybe the gap increased a little bit in the sense that Chiefs had a ban, and therefore probably they couldn't catch up as quickly as they would have liked to, because they couldn't bring in any new faces.
Yeah. First part is yes. Answer is yes. All the players, all Chiefs players are training with us. All that are registered with us, they're training with us. We've got a larger squad than I would like in terms of numbers, but we're getting through, and the sessions are good. In terms of Sundowns, I think you've said it as it is. Sundowns have been the team they've set the benchmark. And I'm not completely agreeing with people that say, well, you know, they signed all the best players and they signed this and that. You've still got to do a job, and you've still got to make a team. So that doesn't entitle anybody to win championships. And to repeat winning championships is a good performance by everybody at Sundowns, and I'm sure they're very proud of it. Does it give me sleepless nights? The sleepless nights are working out how I can get the best out of my players, not how I can knock down the Sundowns players. I think you're right in terms of the gap has increased. And again, it's not just because we can't sign players. I think there's been a few things. There's been a few things, without going into every one here, but there's been a few reasons why gradually Chiefs have been away from that benchmark. I hope that the rebuilding process that's going on, I hope that will lead to closing that gap and eventually knocking them off their perch. I'm sure that there's a few other clubs in that, as I said, the chasing pack that would like to do that. And the pressure is firmly on Sundowns because of the way they run the club. I mean, you know, Paris Saint-Germain have just signed Leo Messi, and now the only thing that will satisfy everybody is Champions League trophy. And when you sign as many players as Sundowns have signed, you increase that pressure so that the bar is put higher. So they will have the favourite stamp, and it's up to the rest of us to chase them down and make sure that we eventually knock them off that perch and bring some sort of greater competition into the league, because they've been good enough to make that competition pretty sparse.
John Timok?
Hi, Coach. I just want to take you back. I think Fatuani did at the beginning of this interview to 2012, I think it was, when you took charge of Chiefs, and obviously you lost 4-1 to Sundowns, and as you said, went on to win the league and cup. What was after that game? What was your feeling though? Did you feel like, oh God, what have I taken on here, or were you confident at that moment that it would turn out as it did turn out for you?
That's a good question, because I maybe for 1 or 2 seconds I thought this is a bigger job than I thought. Maybe I did, but what I did concentrate on was the fact that all through pre-season the players had worked really hard. They looked like they were grasping what we were talking about. I knew that one sunny day or one rainy day doesn't make a good or a bad summer. So the challenge was then just staying focused and making sure that a defeat doesn't become a double defeat because you lose your confidence. Make it a half defeat by we lose the game, but you retain your confidence, and try and encourage that amongst the players. And our next game, I think we beat Amazulu, 6 or something like that away from home. And it was a great performance. And I think that's the important part. You know, everybody loses games now and again. And I think the important thing is that that one game is part of a strategy that takes a much bigger picture, and you can't have confidence or not have confidence based on one result. In this game, I'm hoping that we will be able to reflect the work that we've been doing. The players have been really, really good, and I hope that they enjoy the game. I hope they go for it, and I hope that they play rather uninhibited, which is difficult when you're in the middle of a coaching process, because coaching in its essence is telling people what you want them to do, and therefore to feel free and express yourself and to be uninhibited is difficult. But I hope they can do as well as they can do in that, and if we can do that, then I think it'll be a very good game.
Okay, Pilasande.
Afternoon, Coach. First question, Coach. You've talked about a lot of the challenges and the long road that still needs to be traveled in terms of injuries, players coming back, and fitness, and etc. I don't want to characterize it as the negative, but what are some of the positives that you've been pleased with since your arrival that you're pretty happy with? I know you mentioned some of it being players' progression and how they progress within the short space of time. If you just can add some of the things maybe within your technical team that you continuously discuss that gives you, that positive and that happiness that it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And the second.
Sorry, there's a second part.
Okay, thanks, Coach. And the second question, do you think with what we saw last season, the likes of Arrows and Swallows, the thickness or the depth in competition for this season, could be a lot tougher for teams? And, you've come back at Chiefs, the ban is over, you will have more space to maneuver and do things throughout the season. Do you think now that the thickness of the competition this season is going to be that much tight?
Let me take that one first. I think yes, definitely. I think that there's a lot of teams that weren't happy with of the bigger teams, Chiefs included, that weren't really happy with what they performed last year, and they will ratchet that up. At the same time, you've got the teams that were pleased with their performance. I'm thinking Arrows, Amazulu, people that will want to make sure that they have that sort of season again. And you've got the ones that, like Sundowns, who have been turning over these seasons for a long time now. So I think it will be tighter, and I think you've got a few of the clubs that have upgraded, brought in a lot of players, and tried to change the face of it. Coaches have changed clubs, so I think this year is going to be a tight year. I think it's going to be a very competitive league this year. I don't want to give anybody the impression that I'm walking into a job here full of negatives. Absolutely not. I answered the question because we were talking about our injured players and new players that had come. So I want to make sure that every job you walk into, you can find things you need to improve, and you can be surprised by certain things. I've been surprised by a lot of the players. A lot of the players have surprised me in terms of when I've watched a few games on DVD and stuff like that, the footage of games, I've maybe started to get an impression that maybe he's not this or not that. Is that what we're looking for? And there's a lot of players that have surprised me. There is a lot of potential. I have to say that there's been good coaches here before me, and to get that potential into a match-winning performance is not easy when you play with the pressure that they have, these young players at KaizerChiefs. So there's been a lot of things that have impressed me, both about the club, the way it's progressed over the years since I left, about some of the players, and I'm excited enough to feel that if we can do the work that we need to do, and we can stay in the shake-up until that starts bearing fruit, then I think that it can be a very interesting season.
Okay, we're wrapping it up now. We're going to take the last round of questions. Can I just ask that it's just one question per person? I'll take the last three hands. Kanyiso, you'll be first, followed by Max Stradom. And Mazola, you're going to have to forgive me. I'll give Tando a chance because he or she hasn't asked a question. Kanyiso, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Fatu. Good afternoon, coach, and good afternoon, colleagues.
Afternoon,
Coach,
Kenyiso.
are you able to explain how it was working with the similar senior player group that you left at KaizerChiefs when you left back in 2015?
A senior player, sorry?
Like, are you able to explain how different the different mentality that your senior player group has now as compared to the time that you worked with them when you left the club?
Okay, I mean, I see certain similarities. I must say, there'd been more than a few years previous to me arriving that the Chiefs had been unsuccessful in the first time around. So there was a hunger there. There's a hunger here now, as you can well imagine. There's a hunger for success. There's a pride that's been dented. There was then, there is now, because Chiefs are supposed to be about winning things and it's supposed to be about finishing at the top of the league. So there's a pride that's been dented. So I see a lot of the similarities. You know, the game has changed. The game has changed, and also society has changed. So it makes it a different challenge in terms of that. You know, if I go back past the time I came to Chiefs, the club before that in Sweden, if I went back to Sweden today, it's a totally different game, totally different society. You know, people don't as easily nowadays take on board team effort. You know, we're individualists. You know, and people, what's in it for me, sort of thing. I don't mean that as a criticism of our players. I mean, in general, you know, we think more about myself, what's in it for me. You know, so I think that you have to do the job differently, but there are certain similarities in those supporting walls that you can use to bring people together and to make sure that we do have a strong team spirit. And I think in that respect, it's quite similar, but in many respects, it's even the tactical profile of the game now is different. It's the same things, win and lose games of football, but we're just approaching them and achieving them in different ways nowadays.
Thank you, Coach.
Max Stradom.
Thanks, Kenyiso.
Hi, Coach. Just on your technical team, there's obviously been a lot of changes at Chiefs. Just come this weekend, I'm sure you must have clarity by now. Will Dylan and Arthur, we haven't had a chance to ask this on how it's going to look. Will Dylan and Arthur be on the bench? Will Molefe watch from the stands? I'm sure you guys must have clarified all of that by now. Will Dylan and Arthur both be on the bench? And is the goalkeeper coach back? Well, I know these days paternity leave is quite long. And Fatu said one question, but is it a boy or a girl? I think we're allowed to ask that.
Let me take that one first. Lee went home. He had 7 days, so his leave of absence was not over exaggerated. He both wanted to be there and support his missus that gave birth to quite a large baby boy. Baby Leo was 50 centimeters and 4 kilos, so he's a big lad. So I think there's a goalkeeper in there somewhere. Yes, he's back. He arrived back, and he'll be at training today, and he'll be taking the keepers now up to the weekend. Rory's been working in his place, and as usual, when he fills in, he does a good job. So that's that one. In terms of the bench, I think that we've worked on the assumption that that Arthur and Dylan are on the bench, and Malefi stays in touch with us from the stand, because I believe that it's good to have a good pair of eyes looking at that different angle that comes down in the dressing room at half time and gives us his take on things, and then we work out the tactical changes if they need to be done. We work those out at half time. So as far as I know, Arthur and Dylan will be on the bench.
Congrats on baby Leo.
Okay,
Thank
To you,
you, Mark.
Anthony.
okay. Let me come in there. Tando, the last question. I think we've gone over our allocated time. So Tando will have the last question.
Okay, hi coach. I've realized that you have quite a few options when it comes to goalkeeping. So I just wanted to ask you, what do you expect from Kune, and has he changed from the last time you were at Chiefs?
Yeah, he's changed. The clock ticks and everybody gets older. And the challenge we all have, me, Itu, Lee, everybody, the challenge we have is to make sure we stay in as good shape as we can stay as sharp as we can, as quick thinking as we can. And it's inevitable that the clock will tick. But Buffon has shown that goalkeepers can play well into their 30s. So yes, things have changed. And yes, we have 4 goalkeepers that are potentially number ones. And that can change from week to week. But we don't intend to make it a rotational system with our goalkeepers. We like to make sure that someone feels secure in his position if he's done well. Itu is competing well now. I've been quite pleased. In fact, when I picked Lee up today, I gave him the report that Itu.
Sorry, coach. We just missed the last part. I think you are now on mute. I don't know what happened there. If you can just unmute there, Pravi. I don't know if you're still in the room. Can you just unmute? Thank you. Sorry, we just missed the last part, coach.
Okay. No, I was saying that when I picked Lee up at the airport, I told him that Itu's trained well. He's been away, and it continues to be a close call between the goalkeepers. It's a little bit who's the opponent, and a little bit what's the type of game, and how was the training the few days before. So to answer your question, Tando, Itu is, despite the clock ticking, he's keeping himself relevant. He knows the situation we're in. He knows his own situation. And then he has that choice to soldier on and keep battling and make himself relevant. Or sometimes it happens that someone drifts away and becomes less relevant. Now, Itu's digging his heels in a little bit, and I like that. So no problem with our goalkeepers. We've got 4 that are battling, and that's giving Lee problems. It's giving me problems, but those are problems that you'll take any day.
Thanks, coach.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much.